And if the winds keep on blowing, my soul has been anchored in the Lord.
Ecclesiastes chapter 12 and verse 7. And it simply says this: Then shall the dust return to the earth as it was, and the spirit shall return unto God who gave it. One verse. And I'm loving this because everything that's going on, Hank would put some numbers in front of me here today. All them 5s and 3s. And now I see Ecclesiastes 12 and 7. So we're going to do this for our brother today and for the family. Amen. Now, the subject of this, I'm not going to call it eulogy, but the subject of this expression is this: left earth's games to live in eternity's glory. Left earth's games to live in eternity's glory. Now, when we reflect upon the games that we participated in as children, there are pleasant memories that come to mind. As some of us here in our generation, we think about playing hide and seek and Simon Says and hopscotch and jacks and the Monopoly and tug of war. The children of this generation, they don't know nothing about that. They play their games on the Game Boy and the PlayStation and Xbox and Wii and on the smartphones and their tablets. But finally, the thing we have to understand, we spend a lot of our time not just playing games, but we also watch games. And I'm thinking about this because when I would go and see Hank, that's what he would do. He'd be watching his games. He played so many years and he was watching them at the same time. And that thing lets us know something. When we look at these things and think about these things, and we have so many players here. We got football players, basketball players, football players, and track stars all in the house. And Hank was wrapped up in all of that. He did everything. But the thing we have to understand, the ultimate outcome of participating in the games and watching the games is being able to bask in the glory of winning. Everybody wants to say, I'm number one. Everybody wants to say, I'm the winner. But sadly, we live in a world that is also inundated with con games and corrupt games and crazy games and deceitful games and foolish games and hurtful games and lying games and rigged games and wasteful games. And the purpose of these games are not to lead people to glory, but to lead people in grief. Now, it's important that we make a clear distinction between the games of life and the glory of the Lord. The games of life are tied to earthly amusement. They're tied to earthly competition and entertainment and good times and pastimes. The games of life are about stimulation of the emotions and the feelings and the senses. But the glory of the Lord is different. It's tied to eternal admiration and brilliance and exaltation and success and triumph. The glory of God is about the grace of God. It's about the love of God. It's about overcoming through God. It's about resting in God. And it's about yielding to God. We make mention of the games and the glory today because they both have an association with our brother and family member, Hank Clark. Hank had the distinction of being an all-sports athlete. Y'all know that. He played and excelled at football and basketball and baseball and track. He was a running back, carried the ball. A point guard, a third baseman, we remember that third base. And he also was a relay runner. That means he knew how to carry, he knew how to assist, he knew how to catch, he knew how to pass, and he knew how to receive. In his sports life, he experienced the glory of winning games and winning track meets and winning trophies. And I always remember this because I remember he had gone to California for a while. There's some people in the house remember this. We were at the park practicing. The Warriors were practicing getting ready because we had finally become pretty good at it. And so we looked down the park and here comes Hank walking through the park. And we stopped practicing. That looked like Hank. Said, that is Hank. He had made it back to California. And when he was coming back from California, he wasn't just walking empty-handed. When he came, he had a trophy in his hand. And we all stopped and said, what are you carrying? He said, this is my MVP award And so when he came in, we said, I guess what, tell you what, Hank, since you're an MVP there, why don't you come on and be an MVP with the Warriors? And guess what he did? He said, well, I tell you what, if y'all let me play third base, I'll play for y'all. And he set his trophy down and said, no problem, brother. You can play third base. If you get MVPs in California, you sure enough can do something with us. And he got MVPs in tournaments when he played with us. Same thing. He would play third base, get him out, enter the tournament. He walked back, got another trophy. That's what he did. Now, more importantly, the thing we have to understand, as we said before, Hank realized that the earthly glory he experienced was empty. It was temporary, it was trendy, it was trivial. He heard that there was a permanent glory, and he wanted to experience that glory. Therefore, Hank made preparations to experience this glory by accepting and confessing his belief in Jesus Christ. Now, we have to say this, and all of us have to say this because we've all done it. There have been periods in our life when the temporary treats of the game distracted us from the true glory. But the important thing is this. Because of his athletic training, because he recognized that the close of the final quarter was approaching, he redirected his attention back to the permanent glory. And this is a confession and a testimony. During a recent visit, when I went to talk to him and visit with him, I asked him, I said, Hank, do you still believe in Jesus? And do you believe that he's your Savior? He looked at me and he said, oh yeah. And after he said, oh yeah, he did this. He gave me 2 thumbs up. So that's him showing his athletic ability. That's showing him as a player does. When everything is all right, they always tell you this. Thumbs up. And I always remember, because back in the day when he played football, y'all remember this story. They said they were playing one of these teams from Lafayette, and Hank was running the ball, and he was doing good that night. And for some reason, some guy caught him coming around the corner, got him good, clocked him good. And so when they looked at Hank, they say, Hank, do you know who you are? He said, Hank Clark. He said, Hank, do you know who you are? Hank Clark. He said, Hank, how many fingers I'm holding up? Hank Clark. The one thing he did remember was his name. And so that's the thing, we all have to know whose name to remember. And I also asked him this, I said, remember who you're supposed to call on in the midst of this situation. You know it's Jesus, right? And he said, oh yeah. So as we leave you today, family, have hope and have joy in knowing that on Tuesday, March 10th, 2015 at 5 o'clock, 3102015 at 5. 5 is a number of grace, y'all. And remember, the doctors tried to rush it. The people tried to rush him out of here. But God let him stay 5 more days when he was ready for him. And that's the thing, when the athlete gets ready and they make preparations, they always know they have to do what they got to do on the practice field. But the coach don't call them out until they need them. The coach don't call them up until they need them. And when it's time for him to call him up, he called his son. So when his time came, he said, it's time for you to come on up. I got something else for you to do. And so on that day, he turned in his game uniform, turned in his pads, put down his bat and his glove, his baton, and turned in his running shoes. He has transferred from Life Games Stadium down here, and he's now in large grandstands in heaven. Every athlete makes that transition. Jordan, Magic, Bird, it doesn't matter. They all go from the field to the grandstand. Every last one of them. They can be great as they want to be. Go to the Hall of Fame, do all those things on the field. But there's always one place they have to go. They have to go to the grandstands. But you always watch them watching other players doing what they used to do. And telling them where they were slack and where they were strong. That's what he has done. He's went from game stadium here, and he's in the grandstands on high. The thing is, when you're in the grandstand, that means you're watching what everybody else is doing. So family, he's watching. And like Sister Barkley said, he's watching with that look to see if y'all going to do what y'all supposed to do. One of my young cousins said, what he said, it's time to giddy on up, giddy up, let's go. He's going to be looking at you and telling you, look, it's time to giddy up and go. Come on, get this thing right, because I want you to be in the same grandstands that I'm sitting in. And so, realize this. No longer does Hank have to deal with or worry about the gains on this earth. He doesn't have to worry about being baited and belittled. He doesn't have to worry about being dared and dogged. He doesn't have to worry about being played and prayed. He doesn't have to worry about being picked on and pressured. Doesn't have to worry about being set up and sold out. No longer has to deal with being hijacked and hijinxed and left high and dry. He no longer have to worry about being left limping and aching and moaning and expecting. No more being watched for violations on the court. No more penalty flags for making a mistake on the field. No more fouls and hits and errors or strikes. No more possibilities of being defeated or disqualified or injured or winding up in last place. Know that the dust, which was molded to be Hank Clark, has returned to the earth as he was. And the spirit of Hank Clark has returned unto God who gave him. He has retired from life's foolishness, and he resides in the Lord's favor. Hank Clark, Henry, Hank, call me Papa, Clark Jr., has left earth's gains to live in eternity's glory. He's left earth's gains to live in eternity's glory. That's what you have to remember. All of those things, when you say you really want to win and receive glory, well, guess what? The glory he couldn't get down here, he's having it now. Because in the end, he ran his race. He held on till God said it was time to come off the field. He kept running until God told him don't need to run no more. He kept doing what he needed to do and recognized as long as he focused on that glory, everything would be all right. So family, he's okay. He's all right. Hank is in glory, and he wants you to be joyful and knowing that he's in a better home. When you live that life, run your race, and do what you need to do, as the old folks say, keep pressing on. You will see him again.